everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all good. How excited am I for this mould? I mean, it has been staring at me for the last week and today is the day we are making teacup coasters. The hardest thing for me about this creation really was the papers. Now, I went through all of my paper packs and some were just not suitable. I didn't want to use the tropicals or the coffees and things like that. I wanted these like vintagey, kind of stereotypical afternoon tea kind of patterns. If you were going to go have afternoon tea and you'd get that little teacup with the saucer and it would be all floral and oh my gosh, it reminded me of my grandma. My grandma only ever drank tea out of a cup and saucer. If you gave her a mug, she'd literally be offended. She would be offended. It had to be in a cup and saucer. It was at this moment I realised I had two of these books. Did not realise I had two, but you know, we learn things new every day. But this is the kind of vibe I was going for. This floral, vintage, gorgeous. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I do need to spend some time looking at a thesaurus because I need to extend my excited vocabulary. But I settled on these four and then I thought I actually had one more pad to look through and I had a look through it and then I came across this. Oh my gosh, I knew I had to have this. So I ended up swapping one for the other and yeah. These are the four I ended up going with. I'm a little bit congested today. I don't quite know what's going on, but I'm not feeling myself. So I am sorry if that is coming across over the microphone. Yeah, gorgeous. Oh my gosh. I'm so in love with these. I cannot. Okay, this mould was sent to me by Moulds and Shapes. Now, all of the details will be in the description box and that is a 5% discount code for you guys as well. If you are interested in this mould or any mould across the site, then be sure to use my discount code. One thing I thought I'd show you in this video is what I've been doing the last few times I've been doing Jesmonite. I've actually been pouring my mixture through a sieve because I am using a silicone whisk to mix my Jesmonite and there are still sometimes, just sometimes, not all the time, a couple of little lumps and I want them out. So I've started passing my Jesmonite through a sieve and I'm telling you it gives the smoothest finish. The first thing I'm going to do here is just make a template. So I really need a template of these cups in order to be able to draw around it on my paper so that my paper template fits the cup like a dream. Now, true Claire style fashion, I made too much Jesmonite. I mixed way too much. So I ended up actually creating two. You don't need two, but here we are. It's gonna just enable me to get the exact cut on the paper and I would recommend you doing this. I mean, I don't really feel like you need to do it for the trinket tray. You can kind of just lay the paper over and feel the creases with your hands, but for a mold like this I would definitely just make one template, fill one of them, and then you've got your forever template should you wish to go and make some paper and put them in again. But we have two here because I made too much and yeah, I couldn't I couldn't grab another mold in time to create something else with the Jesmonite left over. But that's okay because, you know, long term I could actually go ahead and use these two. I could, I don't know, hydro dip them or try them with alcohol inks, something I've not tried yet. So they are, you know, they are future possible projects, let's put it like that. So here you see me just getting off all of the little kind of overflow wispy bits at the side. Do be careful if you are new to Jesmonite. It is so sharp and you can really hurt yourself. They are identical in shape. I didn't expect anything else. I expected them to be identical. But just so you guys know, if you are buying the mould, every single cup is identical to the next. But yeah, here we are. The next step for me now is to transfer this onto the paper. The only thing we need to think about here is making sure that we cut the right size of the paper. So if I was to cut it right like this now, it wouldn't actually fit in the mould. It would be the opposite side of the paper. So all I have to do is flip my paper over, put my coaster down, and then just draw around it to get the shape I want. I am going for the full cup. Now, when I think about my grandma's teacups, I think the handles on my grandma's teacups always used to be white. no matter what the pattern was, the handle was always white. And I was toying with that idea of having the handle separate, so just cutting out the paper enough for the bowl of the cup. And then I thought, why? Why? We might as well make life hard, make life difficult, and do the whole thing and cut the handle out as well. So here you see me just cutting it out. I am speeding it up because no one needs to sit through that in real time. But we all know how to cut paper, guys. I'm just letting you know to cut inside the pen line. And it was at this point I thought, this pattern is absolutely stunning. It is so beautiful. But I had a kind of like an internal argument, like, no, Claire, you set your mind to vintage, go vintage. You can see me kind of like flipping it back and forth. Which one do I do? Which one do I do? And actually, I couldn't do this side anyway, because it was around the wrong way and the mold doesn't go like that. So as it turns out, the universe spoke for me. But I've got more of that paper if I decide to come back and do more of an abstract kind of design. Yeah, cutting out the handle. Guys, you can use an X-Acto knife. I think some of you call it an X-Acto knife. I call it a craft knife. You can use that if that makes life easier for you. Scissors are just so much quicker and handier for me. And I've got more control when I'm using scissors. But look at it. It's so pretty. You could, of course, if you wanted to, just cut out the details and place them in your mold and then create a different colour background. But again, extra work. Why would we do that to ourselves? So here I am, flipping it around upside down, and I'm actually using my silicone tool to kind of wedge it into the handle of the cups. This is just it's not hard at all, it's just tricky. I didn't want to rip the paper at all. And because this silicone by Moulds and Shapes is so squishy, you can actually manipulate that part that's inside the handle. You can just kind of like squish it to one side, pull it back a bit to make sure that the paper can get around the handles nice and easily. This paper here was, oh my gosh, I want my kitchen decorated in this kind of style. I don't know if anyone here watches Lydia Elise Millen on YouTube. Listen, she's my guilty pleasure. How the Other Half Live. She's like totally beautiful, totally loaded, beautiful house, beautiful everything. And a lot of her interior decor is like this kind of olive green, and she uses lots of ferns and plants around her house. I just want that. I want that for my kitchen. This paper reminded me of her decor style. So yeah, totally, I think this would be right up her street. But anyway, here we are. I'm cutting out again just inside the black line, and yeah, you don't really need to see any more of the cutting. It is what it is. Just go easy, try not to rip your paper, and cut inside the black line so that it does then fit in your mold. So pretty, so pretty. I love it. Here I am wedging it back into the mold. I'm using my silicone tool again. I'm not going to show you all of these because you don't need to sit through me doing all four, but yeah, just using the silicone tool really helps me get around the handle. And you want to make sure that the paper is completely flat against that bottom, because if you pour your Jesmonite in and it's lifted in any way, shape or form, it will either seep underneath or it will warp the paper in some way. So yeah, I was really happy they were quite tightly packed in there. And that is it. The next thing I need to do is cut out two more, the floral on the left and the green on the right, and oh, they're so pretty. I love them so much. I love them so much. I've decided my new word for obsessed, because I keep saying I'm obsessed. I'm going to start using the word infatuated. Infatuated. Now, listen, I wish I filmed this colour. This colour, one drop of red, green, yellow, blue, and then an additional colour of red. So if you need to go back and pause that section, this colour, honestly, I was going for a green of some kind. I added a little drop of red and that gave me a lovely pink. And then I thought, well, I better not add blue. That's going to give me purple. Let me add green. That's going to go back down the khaki route. And then that kind of gave me this pale lilac. At which point I thought lilac is going to need yellow to bring it back to brown. And that is kind of how my mind was working with it. So one drop of pink, add the green, go in with your yellow. And then after that, I ended up adding a bit of blue to bring it back. And then one more drop of red gave me this. And I mean drops, guys. I'm not talking pouring the bottle. I mean drops. Look at this colour. This colour is everything. It is the most botanical, most beautiful kind of vintage shade of green. I love it, and I'm definitely gonna do more. This is when we tap, tap, tap. Took me a while to kind of fill the handle areas. I didn't want to pour it. I didn't want to get too messy. Do you know what? I didn't want to make too much mess. I have got it on a wooden board today. I know a few of you have mentioned using a wooden board or some kind of vibrating plate. I don't have those, but I do have a wooden board. So here we are. 30 minutes later, time to demold. My advice for these molds, as always, slide it off the table, flip it upside down, and demold back to front. So the reason the plastic is there, because if it wasn't, it would have stuck to the wood. The mold would have completely stuck, would have made it really hard to demold like this. Now I'm peeling back the silicone. This is basically reducing the stress on the Jesmonite. If you're new to Jesmonite, it really is weak at this point. It's weak on the point of demold, but we need to get it out of here because otherwise it will sweat. So this is 30 minutes later. They pop out like a dream. Like a dream. I absolutely love them. The molds from Molds and Shapes, they're just ridiculously easy to use, and they're so soft and squishy. There's no real danger of snapping those handles or breaking those handles. I was confident it wouldn't, but I still go easy on demold. I can notice a couple of ridges. There's a couple of dimples. Now, my first initial thought is that I've put the paper in there so tight and it's kind of got nowhere to go. So I think it might be where the moisture has touched the paper has bent a bit. So at the top of every single cup, I have a dent. I'm guessing that's the science of water and paper mixing together. There's no dent in the mold. The mold is beautiful. You know, my templates are utterly perfect. There's no dents in my templates. So it really is down to the paper and the way it's responded to the Jesmonite. It doesn't take away from the final piece. They are all still beautiful. Here I am. Now, if you're new to Jesmonite again, they do recommend waiting 24 hours to sand, but I don't listen because I can't. And I find it really hard to sand after 24 hours. So I tend to sand immediately straight away. And what I'm doing, I'm just sanding the back. At the moment, I'm just sanding the back edge where there was a little bit of overspill. These are the sharp bits that you really need to be careful of. So do handle it carefully because, oh my gosh, it's 10 times worse than a paper cut. But to sand my edges, I really do use these cheap nail files. I got like a pack of 100 off of Amazon. Super cheap nail files. That is all you need. And then I thought, ooh, let's distress the edges of the paper. You know, like when you do like upcycled furniture and you start to sand it back and distress things. I thought that would look really, really nice and vintagey and give them more of an outlined look. So I started to do that as well. So I sanded the back edge and then I went around the front and I sanded the front edge as well, making sure that I am sanding kind of away from the piece and not up and onto the paper because I didn't want to rip the paper at this point. Too late for this one though. Too late for this one. I have taken some of the paper off of this. Now, again, because I'm sanding immediately, I think this is really human error. The paper is still wet at this point. It is still coming to terms with the fact that it has been saturated in Jesmonite. So it is a little bit soft and fragile at this point. I should have left it 24 hours. Don't be like me, okay? Do it right the first time. This is now 24 hours later, so we seal Jesmonite after 24 hours. If you saw my previous paper in Jesmonite videos, you'll know that I do use the Jesmonite acrylic sealer. Now, I know it's been discontinued, sadly. I don't know what is coming next. I don't know what alternatives there are. I have heard of people saying the FlexiGuard for the AC730 also works with AC100, but this is paper. So I don't know how it will respond to paper. So if you have got this sealer, then we all know the first coat has to be diluted. It is the rules on the website by 20%. So 20% water, 80% Jesmonite. First coat going on. I use a cheap kitchen Tesco sponge. Cheap Tesco's kitchen sponge to do all of my sealing. This really does reduce any streaks. It reduces leaving marks in your piece. So I use one side of the sponge to rub it on, and then I go over really, really gently and lightly with the other end of the sponge, the dry end of the sponge, or I cut it in two, and I just kind of rub over the top, almost like wax on, wax off. I'm not removing the sealer, I'm just kind of removing any lines or marks or streaks that may have appeared on the front. And that is it. that is the sealing. I leave this then for around about 1 minute, and then I go and give it the second coat of sealer, which is the neat Jesmonite sealer with absolutely no water added. It's not diluted, it's pure neat. So around about 1 minute later, I add another coat, and that is it. I'm not showing you that in this video because I don't want you to go to sleep, quite frankly. But here they are. I love them. I'm absolutely obsessed with these. I actually think, and I know it's kind of a waste of Jesmonite in a way, but I actually think these would look gorgeous in like box frames in your kitchen. Do you know, like if you had this vintage style kitchen, this garden kitchen, they'd look gorgeous in a box frame. You don't need the Jesmonite for that. So that's a thing. I've now got that template. I can now draw around that on paper and make wall art, okay? Paper art. And I might have to do it now that I've said it out loud. I am utterly obsessed with this mould. Don't forget, this was sent to me by Moulds and Shapes, so eternally grateful to Moulds and Shapes for our work that we do together. And all of the details will be in the description box, including your 5% discount code, which is CCC5 at the checkout. I hope you've loved this as much as my very first paper in Jesmonite trays. I have to thank you all for that one, because that one went nuts. I did not expect it. I was getting messages the next day. And I was like, but it's just paper. You know, when you sometimes think of something, I actually was so close not to posting that video because I thought people are going to kind of think maybe it's cheating, you know. And then I posted it and the video went nuts. Okay, so guys, don't ever be afraid to post whatever you feel in your heart, because wow, did it take me by surprise. And I am still in love. I am not gonna lie, I could do paper in Jesmonite for the rest of my days, but I won't, obviously. Hope you've loved this as much as I have loved making them. Oh my gosh, let me know what style you would do. I am going to explore this mould more next week, not using paper but using something else. And yeah, I'm just in love. I'm in love. I'm so in love. I want to go to a country house and just sit on the grass. It also makes me feel like I should be talking like this. One ought to be talking more like this when one is drinking out of a cup of such standard. Anyway, I'm getting delirious now, you see. Alright, I love you all so much. Like, I actually mean that. You guys bring me so much life, and the fact that you're here every week supporting me means more than I think any of you realise. So I just want to let you know, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And yeah, if you've liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you have not already, because we're nearly 18 minutes in, which means you like it here. So you might as well stay, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.
Straight cruising, headed for a bruising, watching out for number one. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Today is just today and not tomorrow. Where you're going, you can rest your head. Where you're going, brightness looks big. Where you're going, truth cannot be hid. You gotta get going. Easy now. You gotta get going. Easy now.